All right, guys. Well, I'm just gonna start. Um, I hope your reason for missing this, if you said you're gonna be here, is a damn good one. And I know you guys need this shit because you said so on your Sona. So, yes, please watch this video afterwards. So, first things first. If you're wondering about this, yes, my LC just cut my hair, and they did not do an even job. So, but as a sending off, basically is getting onto the MC. So that's what that is. That'll eliminate that question. So I'm gonna get right into it. So that when you watch this, it'll go by as quickly as possible. Let me share my screen. There's no one on the call, so like no one's telling me if this is working or not. And it looks like it was working. Okay, well. See, that would be nice. All right, and I just saw that it was working. Okay, so this is a guide to your board of advisors, part 1, which is creating your board. Now, the purpose of this call 1 is to take you through this information, which honestly, though, this is just only one of a few purposes of this call because you can find anything about to tell you on the Resources Hub, and this was meant to be a space for you guys to ask questions I know you need answers to, and also one to share GCPs, those of you who somewhat have a board of advisors. Obviously, no one's here, tears, so that won't happen, and you're just gonna have to listen to me, so I'll get through this quickly. So part 1, so we're gonna go over the purpose of the board of advisors, how to go about creating a board, how to hold a meeting, and then, yeah, we're scratching number 4. So, all right, so first of all, who are the LC board of advisors? First things first, they're board of advisors, not a board of directors. Board of directors, have a stake in the company, can make decisions, whereas board of advisors, simply advises. They obviously we're a not-for-profit and they have nothing in the company and so in the organization, and so they can just simply advise. They don't have any power to actually implement and make real decisions. And eventually your BoA can become the sugar daddies of your LC, and we'll get to that in the next call. Eventually, hopefully they pay for conference fees, merchandise, take TNs, whatever. And finally, they're possibly the most underutilized resource in the plenary, meaning that most LCs either don't have a strong BoA, and the ones that do don't really take full advantage of their BoA. I know some do, and so hopefully you'll hear some GCPs on the next call from those LCPs. Great thing doing with their BoA. And so the purpose of board advisors is to provide guidance, support, and feedback on the LC's goals, operations, and strategies. And like anything else we do, anyone else's purpose and organization, we have them, and the end goal is for them to increase an LC's ability to facilitate exchange through many different ways, and we'll get to that later as well. So these are a few of the minimum responsibilities of your board of advisors. First one, just set the expectation that they attend all quarterly meetings. So there are 4 quarters in a year, Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and is highly recommended that you have a meeting every single quarter. And then additionally, it would be very, very beneficial for board advisor to serve as a mentor to someone in your EB, maybe even people in your LC. They can serve as resource for professional development with and without the LC, within and outside of the LC, and this can really strengthen the connection and relationship between your board and your LC. Obviously, they must assist your EB and the LC in reaching its goals through whichever means, and tangibly support the LC. We'll get into more of this later, but this can be through giving warmly to IGT, like we said before, sponsoring conference fees for delegates, deliver functional training, deliver leadership training, the list goes on. And it's also responsibility of them to represent and serve as a spokesperson for your LC when necessary. This can be at networking events. This can be, within their own company, conversations they're having with other professionals or business partners. And now your responsibilities, like we said, hold at least one BoA meeting each quarter. Not very hard, and it's something that definitely should be happening. All right. And I cannot stress this enough that you just really need to get that shit on their calendars really as soon as you can. The type of people who are on your board are, they're professionals, right? They're grown-ups, they're real people, and they're busy. So the earlier you get on the calendar, the better chance they're going to be there. They're not like eye suckers where you can try to set up a meeting the next day. You need to, get it, I would say, at least 2 months in advance on their calendar for them to guarantee their attendance at the meeting. And how you can do that, and send them a Google Calendar invite, placeholder, send it on this day, and have them accept or decline well enough in advance. So if a majority can't make it, then that's when you know that you can change it. And so you want to allow yourself plenty of time to do that. It's up to you and your EB to provide opportunities for your board of advisors to engage with your EB and LC quarterly board meetings. We hinted on a couple of those examples, like delivering training, and we'll get more to that later. So this is also very important. It's your responsibility to follow up after meetings and conversations. Do not leave them hanging or in the dark, okay? Every time after you have a conversation or meeting with a board member, you follow up later that day, just like you would for any EP or any IGT lead. Send monthly stakeholder updates on the state of the LC. This is just good to keep in constant touch and to make sure that your LC is always fresh in their mind, as well as keeping them up to date on national and international strategies. So any big changes that are going on, that would be good for them to know. And then lastly, hold them accountable to their commitments, just like your members. If they're not contributing, then what's really the point of having them around? So you want to make sure that they're fulfilling the roles and that they're actually doing stuff to benefit your LC. Okay. So now we're on to BoA creation, and no one's here to laugh at that GIF, but maybe you'll laugh at it when you're watching. Okay, whatever. All right. So how do we create a strong BoA? This is the first step, just like any other similar process, where you first need to assess what your needs are. So you want to be thinking about what your focus program is, your university relationship. Think about if you have a faculty advisor in your university or not. Do you meet the membership requirement of having at least 3 minimum members on your board? And even if your expansion, all this is still relevant, we still highly recommend that you get a board. It'll help you, when you actually do become a general member LC or a full member LC, help you attain membership. And then think about what are some of your biggest or most urgent needs. So you take all this information and you should be able to assemble kind of what you want your structure to look like on your board of advisors. And so this is the recommended minimum BoA structure. So this will fulfill the minimum requirement of 3 members. So you really need a faculty advisor on your board. So this is someone that works at the university or is affiliated with your university, and obviously they can help so much for OGV, and all you need to run OGV. So this is really a must to have a faculty advisor on your board. So that's priority number 1. And then an external perspective is always good. Someone looking on the outside in, and diversity is good on any board as well. So you want to try to get an external on there, someone who is in some business or works for a nonprofit, some organization, and ideally someone that can help support your focus program or your biggest need, whatever that is. Lastly, recommend having an alum on your board if possible. If you don't have any in your area, which I'm sure all of you do, you just have another external. But I'm sure all of you do have alumni in your area. And so alumni, of course, can be useful for many different things. They're more likely, they know what's going on naturally more than any other advisor would. They're useful for connecting your EB to other alumni in the area, or people that, were in ISEC when they were. They have organizational insight, and they're more likely to sponsor, members to go to conferences and really promote that good membership development and get that make sure that members have good experiences. So it's great to have an alum on your board as well. All right, so these are the 3 recommended profiles you get on your board while you are creating it. All right, now, so you know what kind of people you want. Now, how do you find them? So, like anything else, guys, if you've ever done any kind of sales, then you'll know that the easiest way to start is looking at referrals, right? Or your personal connections. So first, think of people that you know. You're all in ISEC. I'm sure you have professional connections. Look at the professional connections of your EB as well. Then next, you can go to if you do have any current BoA members, ask them if they know anyone that would support ISEC and be willing to contribute as a board of advisor. Look at alumni, past LCPs sometimes can also make great board members. Professors, can give recommendations as well. If you're still having trouble after all that, of course, you can always browse LinkedIn for people who align with the profiles you're looking for. All right. So these are the main things you want to do to find good candidates. So now let's say, all right, you find somebody who matches up with what you're looking for. Now what do? So obviously you want to reach out to them and set up a conversation. So if you get their phone number, email, LinkedIn message, whatever, reach out to them and just, set up a time to meet for some coffee or a drink or something. And so you want to really get to know more about them and start building a rapport, building that personal relationship. And you want to learn more about their background. And so you can determine if this is someone that you really would like on your board or not. And obviously you want to explain ISEC, our organizational vision and purpose, but not only that, but also the value that your committee brings to your campus and your community. You want to make sure they realize the good that this local committee is doing so that they feel more inclined to be on the board. And you also want to communicate after learning more about their background, any research you did on them, the value that you believe they could bring to your board on your LC. So after your conversation, gauge their interest. Usually what I like to do, sometimes they want to join right away. And again, so let's make sure they understand ISEC's mission, values, and all that stuff. And that'll be a good match. So sometimes, they might want to join right away, and we'll get to that in the next slide. But what I like to do is invite them to the next board meeting, or maybe if it's not for a long time, just set up an informal get-together with the EB or any current BoA members, so they get a chance to get to know both the EB and the current board. And then they kind of get their feet wet this way and just kind of see what it would be like. And then after that meeting, you can ask them what they think, and hopefully they're all for it and you want to make it official. So for onboarding someone onto your BoA, I recommend you follow a formalized procedure, just like most other things within your committee. So you never appoint someone a position without having them apply for it or go through some sort of process. This should be similar. So here's an example of a procedure. You don't have to follow this exactly, but this is just a pretty basic example. So you want so in this example, you have the BoA candidate provide the resume and maybe like a statement explaining why they want to be on the board and what benefits they would bring as a BoA member for your LC. And so obviously your EB, it has to be with it. So you want to reach consensus and approve the proposed candidate. Reaching consensus, means just coming to agreement. And then do the same if you do have anyone on your BoA currently. You want to make sure that they're going to get along and approve this person, so have them reach consensus as well. Lastly, you definitely want, so this is the one thing I'll say of this process, you definitely want to have them do is sign a BoA member contract. And there's an example of that on the Education Resources Hub Drive. I'll go over it really quickly. It's pretty basic, but you just want to make sure that they're doing something to commit. So as you can see, ethical responsibility, it's pretty basic. It lists their main responsibilities, but will not be limited to. So that's important. See in here, it's attending all 4 board meetings per year, serving as a mentor. So a lot of the things I went over before. And then you get us here so here is how they can hold you accountable as well. So if you're not doing any of this shit, they can bring that up to you as well, and then of course sign and give signatures. All right, so that is highly recommended for onboarding a BoA member. So next, so let's say now, okay, I have my 3 board members, and you know, we got to know them a little bit, had some conversations, and now we have our official Q1 meeting coming up. Okay, so now we're gonna go through what you want that, or a general example of what you want that to look like. Okay, so at this meeting, you'll prepare and present a report about how your LC is doing. So it's recommended, to have this in a PDF format. So it's like access it easily on their iPads, laptops, whatever. If they want it printed, for the old-fashioned, they can do that too. When you're thinking about it, make sure you allocate your time accordingly to each topic. So obviously, things, maybe your focus program will be prioritized over some other things. But just make sure you cover the major issues. Do not try to cover every single thing that's going to LC. Just try to cover the main things that will be the most value added for the meeting. And you don't want it to just be talking the whole time like I'm doing right now. It needs to be interactive. If you are just talking the entire time, that is a board meeting wasted, because they're there not just to listen to you yap. All right, and so here are some examples of what you can include in this report. So first of all, you want to make sure that if they need to get a hold of you, I mean, they should have your contact info anyway, but if they want to get a hold of you, that all the EB contact info is there, as well as the contact info of all the board advisors, so that they can get in touch with each other, which is obviously highly encouraged, and so that your EB members can reach out to them as well. You definitely want to include any relevant national or international updates. So, like the new membership model and stuff like that is usually pretty important. You can have in there about the new PAI or whatever if you want, just so they know kind of from a big picture where the organization is headed. Obviously, relevant updates for your LC. Let's say you just, grew in membership, you got upgraded to general member, something like that. So, relevant LC updates like that you definitely want to include. And then functional updates, so really make sure you cover numbers, performance growth, nice easy to read or easy on the eyes graphs, and make sure it shows growth from last year. You want to talk about the main strategies you used throughout this quarter, but then also the main bottlenecks that were brought up. So you want to talk about this stuff so you can learn from it, but the majority of the time should be going over maybe what you're proposing, how you're proposing to improve from that point on, and then them giving you feedback and advice on how you could do that better. It's always good to have goals for the next quarter as well, and then to create some accountability, you can have some action steps. That's always great, both for your EB and the board of advisors. And so this last bullet, time for further discussion, that's probably one of the most important things. I mean, think about conferences when we like we spend time in sessions all day, but then at night we kind of let loose a little bit and get to talk, go in a room or something, or go to the party. But that's really like gives an opportunity when you can really get to know each other. So this is the general same idea. Maybe grab a couple of drinks or dinner afterwards and make sure those conversations continue. Okay, so this list is non-exhaustive, so please, I mean, this isn't it, right? So there's definitely some more things that you could be adding into your BoA report. Those are some general examples. All right, so now you have your packet ready. And so here's some things you should do before you actually deliver the BoA meeting. So I would set the expectation, so put it on their calendar for at least 2 hours. It might not last that long, but you want it, I mean, just better safe than sorry. And that can include extra networking time afterwards. Again, this is very important. Obviously, since they're working professionals, you want to schedule this in the evening. I would say evening's better as opposed to morning, because they have more time for networking afterwards. And also, they're more likely to get drinks with you at 7 p.m. as opposed to 7 a.m. So you want the attire to be business professional. You want to make sure you come across as a professional student organization, youth-led organization, and I I mean, guys, your EB has to attend, right? I mean, come on. That's just unacceptable if they don't. So once you have the packet ready, you want to send it out at least 3 to 5 days before the meeting so that they have time to look it over, read it over, so that maybe they can prepare some questions in advance so that then when they come to the meeting, their attention will be fully focused on the discussion. They won't be trying to, read everything that you have in the packet. It's important as well to confirm who'll be attending at least 3 to 5 days before. Sometimes you might have these slimy members who, say they'll be coming 2 months in advance, but then the week of will say, oh, something came up and I can't make it. So you want to do your best to confirm who'll be attending in advance, and where you host the meeting. So this can be on your campus, at a BoA member's office, or maybe if there's a nice secluded room in a restaurant, you could do it there as well. And yeah, man, keep it light, so it's a professional environment, but at the same time, you want to be creating a bond with these people. So make sure it's comfortable for them. So have coffee, drinks, light snacks, or something, provided at the meetings, just to make it a little bit more comfortable for them. They had a long day. You did as well, so that would be welcomed. All right. So when you're actually holding the meeting, encourage them to arrive at least 15 minutes before, so can get settled in, make sure that you'll be able to start on time. Again, you want this to be interactive, guys. Do not be talking the entire time. Their advice and feedback is so valuable. That's why you're having these meetings. And so you really want to allow the majority of the time for them to discuss issues and present feedback and their ideas to you, so that you can come out of that meeting and with much better strategies than you entered it with. It's important to have a note taker, okay, so that you can provide minutes afterwards. Again, give each function time to present, collect advice, but make sure you just allocate wisely. And you might want to prioritize your focus program. And then obviously near the end, so you want to have a space for you and your EB test some questions, but maybe even more importantly, you want your BoA test questions as well. So these can continue discussions. BoA chair we haven't talked about yet. We'll talk about that more next week, but they can possibly assist in running the meeting. All right, so now after follow up, I really cannot stress that enough. There's nothing worse than having a BoA member say that they're going to help you, that they are going to, let's say, land you a meeting in this company that has potential to take 10 TNs or something like that. There's nothing worse than having them commit to something like that and then you forget to follow through on it. As my BoA chair said when I was LCP, he always said, I'm not doing shit. You have to do the work. You come to me. He said, I will say that I'm going to do this to you, but then it's up to you to set it up. And that is completely one of your responsibilities, to follow up and make sure that it is easy as possible for them to do what they said they would do for you. Okay. So then, since you have a note taker, you want to send out the board minutes within a week of the meeting so that they can revisit it if they need to. They can, if they think of any additional questions, they can ask those to you. So let's say some of your board members flaked out a little beforehand. You want to follow up with them as well. Make sure that they still go over the packet and that they are still contributing. So just because they didn't attend the meeting, that's really no excuse for them not contributing to your LC and the goals. So you want to give them action steps as well. Follow up, make sure they go through it, and give them action steps too. Alrighty, so yeah, well, that was the information I had this week. I would have liked to have some GCPs, but again, anyway, hope more people will be attending next week, and this is what we'll be talking about then. So we'll probably do a review of how to conduct a meeting. As a quick review, we'll go over how to grow your board advisors from the minimum of 3, and then how to engage with them and build relationships. So how you can get to that point where they become your LC sugar daddies and pay for conferences, take TNs, and stuff like that. And then lastly, BoA management processes. So pretty much details on things like terms, what to do when a BoA member isn't performing. So how you go about removing members from your board and such things. All right. So that's all for, lastly, there's a lot of information on the education resources drive. So if you go in the LCP folder, and then you go in the BoA resources, there are a few documents there as an example of, pretty much everything you need to know. A guide document. There's example of the contract, example of a BoA meeting packet. Lots of good stuff in there. So definitely check that out if you have any further questions. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. And my computer's slow. All right, guys. So watch that. I hope you get some good info out of it. If you have any, questions on those topics I just went over, feel free to WhatsApp me, and I'll do my best to answer. All right, guys. See you next week.